I sat alone in our living room that Thursday night, the silence pressing against my chest like a weight I could not shake. The woman I married, the one I built a life with for 5 years, had just told me she was not sleeping with me anymore, not as a request, as a statement. She thought it would destroy me, that I would crumble and beg. She was wrong. What Brooke did not know, what she could not have predicted, was that her ultimatum would not break me. It would rebuild me. And in the process, her entire world would shatter in ways she never imagined possible. Before I tell you how this all unfolded, I would love to know, where are you watching from? Drop a comment below. If you have ever felt manipulated in a relationship, if someone has ever tried to use love as a weapon against you, hit that like button, because you are not alone in this. And subscribe, because what happened next changed everything I thought I knew about love, respect, and self-worth. Let me take you back to where it all started to fall apart. I met Brooke 6 years ago at an art gallery opening in Portland. I remember walking through the space, not really understanding half the pieces on display, when I heard this confident voice behind me debating the meaning of an abstract painting with someone. I turned around, and there she was. Auburn hair catching the gallery lights, green eyes sharp with intelligence, a smile that seemed to know something I did not. She was arguing that the painting represented modern disconnection, and she was so passionate, so articulate, that I found myself drawn into the conversation. We talked for 3 hours that night, about art, about life, about everything and nothing. She worked in marketing for a tech startup, had opinions on everything from politics to the best pizza in the city, and laughed in this unguarded way that made me feel like I was the only person in the room. By the time the gallery closed, I had her number, and by the end of that week we had our first official date. Those first months were everything you hope for when you meet someone. Weekend hikes along the Columbia River Gorge, cooking elaborate meals in her tiny apartment kitchen, conversations that stretched until 2 or 3 in the morning, because neither of us wanted the night to end. She challenged me in ways I needed, pushed me to think differently, to see the world through a lens I had never considered. I fell hard, and I fell fast. After a year of dating, I proposed on the Oregon coast on a cloudy afternoon that somehow felt perfect. She said yes before I even finished the question, tears streaming down her face as the waves crashed behind us. Our wedding was small, intimate, just close friends and family in a restored barn outside the city. Dancing with her that night, I genuinely believed we would make it, that this was forever. The first 2 years of marriage were good. We rented a small apartment downtown, spent Sundays watching movies on our worn-out couch, Fridays trying new restaurants we could barely afford. We were building something brick by brick, paycheck by paycheck. When we finally saved enough for a down payment, we bought a modest house in the suburbs with a small yard and outdated kitchen. It was ours. We painted the walls together, argued about furniture placement, planted tomatoes that never quite grew right. It felt real. It felt like home. But somewhere around year 4, things began to shift. Brooke got promoted to marketing director at her company. I was proud of her, truly. She had worked hard, stayed late, countless nights, proved herself in a competitive field. The promotion came with a significant raise, better benefits, more responsibility. I thought it would make her happy. At first it seemed like it did. Then the late nights started. 6 in the evening became 8, then 9. She would come home exhausted, barely able to hold a conversation. I tried to be understanding. I made dinner, cleaned up, asked if she wanted to talk about her day. She would give me one-word answers, pour a glass of wine, and disappear into her phone. I told myself it was temporary, that once she settled into the new role, things would go back to normal. But they did not go back to normal. They got worse. She started going to the gym 4 times a week after work, coming home even later. She changed her wardrobe, trading comfortable flats for heels, loose blouses for fitted dresses. She got highlights in her hair, started wearing makeup every day, even on weekends. I complimented her, told her she looked beautiful. She would smile, but it never reached her eyes. Not when she looked at me anyway. Our intimacy evaporated slowly, then all at once. Once a week became every other week, then once a month. I tried to initiate, tried to reconnect, physically, emotionally. She would turn away, claim exhaustion, headaches, stress. I stopped trying after a while because the rejection hurt more than the distance. 3 weeks passed, then 4, then a month. We were sleeping in the same bed but living in different worlds. I tried talking to her about it one evening. She was on her phone, scrolling through something that made her smile in a way she had not smiled at me in months. I asked if everything was okay, if we could talk about how disconnected we had become. She barely looked up. Just told me I was being paranoid, that not everything was about me, that she was focused on her career. When I pressed, suggested maybe we needed counseling or a weekend away together, she snapped. Told me I was barely keeping up with my own job, that she was carrying the household financially now since her income had doubled. It was not about the money for me, but for her, apparently it was. The night everything changed started like any other terrible night in our dying marriage. I came home from work exhausted, hoping maybe we could have dinner together, actually talk like we used to. I grilled chicken, made a salad, set the table. She walked in at 9:30, face unreadable, and poured herself wine without even acknowledging the meal I had prepared. She sat down across from me in the living room, not at the dinner table. The space between us felt like miles. She took a long sip of her wine, then looked at me with eyes that held no warmth, no sadness, nothing but cold resolution. She said we needed to talk. My heart started pounding before she even continued. I knew somehow that whatever came next would change everything. I asked what she meant, trying to keep my voice steady. She leaned back against the couch, swirling her wine, and said she had been thinking a lot, that she was not happy. I asked what we could do to fix it, already feeling the ground shifting beneath me. She cut me off, said I did not understand that she was not happy with us, with me. Each word landed like a punch. I asked her to explain, to help me understand what was happening. That is when she said it. She told me she was not sleeping with me anymore. Not as a question, not as something we could discuss, just a flat statement of fact. She said she could not, that she did not feel that way about me right now. The coldness in her voice was almost worse than the words themselves. This was not a woman struggling with a difficult decision. This was someone who had already made up her mind and was simply informing me of the new reality. I felt the room tilt. I asked if she thought things might change, grasping for any shred of hope. She said she did not know, maybe not. She needed space. Space from what I asked. From the pressure, she said. From the expectations. From having to be the wife I wanted her to be. As if wanting connection, intimacy, partnership was some unreasonable demand I had placed on her. She stood up, preparing to leave the conversation, leave me sitting there in the wreckage of what she had just said. Then she turned back, delivered the final blow. Told me if I could not handle this, if I was going to make her feel guilty about it, then maybe we needed to think about what comes next. The threat was clear. Accept her terms, live in this hollow shell of a marriage, or lose her entirely. She walked upstairs. Each footstep felt like a nail being driven into the coffin of our relationship. I sat there in the dark living room alone, trying to process what had just happened. I did not cry. I was beyond tears. I just felt numb, hollow, and somewhere beneath the pain something else was stirring. A cold realization that this was not about her needing space. This was about control. She was testing me, pushing to see how much I would tolerate, how small I would make myself to keep her. The next 3 days were the longest of my life. Friday morning I woke up to an empty bed. She had already left for work without a word. I went through my day on autopilot, barely able to focus on anything. A coworker asked if I was okay. I lied, said I was just tired. I came home to an empty house, sat surrounded by photos of happier times, and wondered when we had become strangers. Saturday I tried to distract myself. Cleaned the house, did laundry, vacuumed every room. Brooke emerged late morning, dressed in expensive workout clothes I had never seen before, hair, perfect, makeup done. She said she was going to the gym. I asked if she would be home for lunch, hating how desperate I sounded. She said probably not, that she had plans. She did not elaborate on what those plans were, and I did not ask. She left, and I spent the day alone. That evening she came home after dark, went straight to shower, then disappeared into our bedroom. I heard her on the phone, heard her laughing. That laugh, the one I had fallen in love with years ago, was back. Just not for me. Never for me anymore. Sunday morning I decided I had to try one more time. I woke up early, made pancakes from scratch, the kind she used to love when we first started dating. Set the table, poured coffee, waited. She came downstairs, saw the breakfast, and her face hardened. She said she was not hungry. I asked her to please just sit with me to talk. She sighed like I was exhausting her and asked what there was to talk about. She had already told me what she needed. I asked what I had done wrong, how I could fix this. That is when she said the words that would replay in my mind for weeks. She said that was the problem, that I kept thinking this was about what I had done. It was about who I was. She said I was comfortable, safe, boring, that she needed excitement, needed to feel alive, and I did not make her feel that way anymore. Each word was a knife. She was not criticizing my actions. She was rejecting my entire existence, everything I was. In that moment, something shifted inside me. Not anger, not yet, but clarity. Cold, sharp clarity. She was not trying to save our marriage. She was pushing me away. The question was why. That afternoon, Brooke left again, said she was meeting a friend. I stayed home, restless, unable to settle. I found myself walking upstairs, standing in our bedroom doorway. Her laptop sat open on the dresser screen, still lit. She never left it open, never left it unlocked. Some part of me knew I should not look, but a stronger part of me needed to understand what was happening to my marriage. I walked over. The screen showed her email inbox. Work messages, mostly nothing unusual. Then I saw it. A thread with the subject line simply saying "Tonight." The sender was someone named Kyle Brennan. I did not recognize the name. I clicked. The most recent email was from that morning. Kyle wrote that he could not wait to see her that afternoon, asking if they were meeting at the same place. Brooke had responded yes, thanking him for yesterday, saying she needed that escape. Kyle replied that she deserved to be happy, that I did not appreciate her the way he did. Brooke agreed, said things at home were complicated, but being with him made it easier. My hands were shaking as I scrolled up through their conversation. 3 months of emails. It started professionally enough, discussions about a marketing campaign, his company being one of her clients. Then it shifted. Compliments that crossed lines. Lunch meetings that had nothing to do with work. 6 weeks ago, he told her she was more beautiful in person than he had imagined. A month ago, he said the previous night was incredible, that he could not stop thinking about her. 2 weeks ago, he asked when she would tell me, said he hated that she had to go home to me. Everything clicked into place with brutal clarity. The late nights were not overtime. The gym was not about fitness. The new clothes, the makeup, the distant behavior, all of it was because she had already moved on. She had someone else, Kyle. And she had been lying to me for months, letting me believe I was the problem, that I was not enough while she was with him. I took photos of the emails with my phone, closed the laptop, walked downstairs, sat on the couch where 3 days earlier she had delivered her ultimatum. But I was not the same man who had sat here broken and desperate. I was done being the victim. She wanted to play games, wanted to manipulate me into accepting a marriage where she had all the power and I had none. But she had made a critical mistake. She had assumed I would break. She had no idea what I was capable of when I stopped caring about losing her. When Brooke came home that evening around 7, I was sitting in the living room reading a book. She walked in, saw me, and looked mildly surprised. She asked if I was still up. I looked up calmly, asked how her friend was. She immediately went on guard, said it was fine, just coffee and talking. I said that was nice and went back to my book. She stood there for a moment, studying me. Something was different and she could sense it. I was not asking follow-up questions, not interrogating her, not showing any of the desperate need for her attention I had displayed all week. I was simply existing in my own space, unbothered by hers. She went upstairs without another word. The next morning I woke up at 5:30, put on running shoes I had not worn in months, and went for a 5-mile run. The physical pain felt good, felt like something I could control. I came back, showered, made breakfast for myself. Brooke came downstairs as I was heading out the door for work. She looked confused, seeing me already dressed and ready. I said good morning and left. That evening I came home and cooked dinner. Not for us, for me. Made a steak the way I liked it, medium rare, something Brooke always complained was too bloody. Poured myself a beer, sat down and watched a basketball game she always said was boring. When she came home late again, I offered her nothing. She could make her own dinner. I was done catering to someone who had checked out of our marriage months ago. I started going to a different gym than hers, hired a personal trainer named Jared who pushed me harder than I had pushed myself in years. When he asked what my goals were, I told him I wanted to get stronger inside and out. He understood without me having to explain further. 3 days a week turned into 5. The physical transformation started slowly, but I could feel the mental shift immediately. I called Marcus, my best friend from college, who I had barely spoken to in months because Brooke always found reasons we should not hang out. He picked up on the second ring, asked where the hell I had been. I told him it was a long story and asked if he wanted to grab beers Friday night. He said absolutely. Just like that, I started reclaiming pieces of myself I had let slip away. I got a haircut, a real one, at a proper barbershop instead of the cheap chain place I usually went to. Bought new clothes that actually fit well, dark jeans and fitted shirts that made me look like I gave a damn about myself again. Not for Brooke, not for anyone else. For me. Because I had spent so long trying to be whatever she needed that I had forgotten who I actually was. At home, the dynamic shifted completely. I stopped asking where she was going, stopped waiting up for her, stopped caring about her schedule. I had my own life now. Tuesday night poker with Marcus and some guys from work. Thursday basketball league I had joined. Friday out with friends. I was not home much anymore, and when I was in my own world. Brooke started noticing. I could see it in the way she watched me when I was getting ready to go out. The way she asked where I was going, what I was doing, who I was with. I answered briefly, politely, but offered nothing extra, just like she had done to me for months. The roles had reversed, and she did not like it one bit. One Saturday evening I came downstairs dressed in dark jeans and a button-down shirt, keys in hand. She was sitting on the couch and asked where I was going. I told her out with friends that I might be late. She asked which friends. I said just some guys from work, and Marcus told her not to wait up and walked out. I could feel her staring at my back as I left. The truth was I was not doing anything scandalous, just having dinner and drinks with actual friends, laughing for the first time in months, feeling like myself again. But she did not know that. She only knew that I was not available anymore, not waiting around for scraps of her attention. The power dynamic she had carefully constructed was crumbling. 3 weeks into my transformation, Brooke tried a different approach. I was watching a movie one evening when she came and sat next to me on the couch. Closer than she had been in months. She said we had not talked in a while. I paused the movie, looked at her, and pointed out that she had said she needed space. I was giving it to her. She shifted uncomfortably, said she did not mean it like this. I asked what she did mean then. She could not answer. She started making small efforts. Cooked dinner one night, seemed hurt when I told her I had already eaten with Marcus. Came downstairs in revealing pajamas one evening while I was reading. I looked up, said goodnight, and went back to my book. Suggested we watch a movie together. I told her I had plans, maybe another time. Every attempt she made was met with the same polite distance she had shown me. It was driving her crazy. 4 weeks in, she was trying harder, asking about my day, trying to engage in actual conversation. I answered but kept it surface level, never giving her the emotional intimacy she suddenly seemed to want. One night she came down to the living room, where I had been sleeping since her ultimatum, asked if we could talk. I sat up, waited. She said she missed me. Those 3 words, after everything, after months of pushing me away, after rejecting everything about who I was. I looked at her calmly and asked if she missed me or if she just missed having someone around when Kyle was busy. The color drained from her face. Her mouth opened but no sound came out. She finally whispered, asking what I was talking about. I told her I knew about Kyle, that I had known for weeks. She physically recoiled, hands shaking, face going pale. She stammered, asking how I knew. I told her it did not matter. She had wanted space, wanted excitement, wanted to feel alive. She got it, and I had moved on. She started crying, saying it was not what I thought, that she had made a mistake, that she was confused and wanted to fix things. I stayed calm, eerily calm. Told her she had called me boring, comfortable, said I did not make her feel alive. She had pushed me away, given me an ultimatum, thinking I would beg her to stay, thinking I would accept whatever scraps she threw my way while she had her fun elsewhere. But here is what she did not expect. I did not break. I did not crumble. Instead, I became the man I should have been all along. Stronger, more confident, more complete. And now I did not need her anymore. Her manipulation had backfired spectacularly. She fell to her knees, literally begging. Said she would end things with Kyle, that she would do anything. I stood up, looked down at her, and told her the woman I married would not have needed to be asked. She would not have cheated in the first place. That woman was gone. And honestly, even if she could come back, I did not want her anymore. I had spent too long loving someone who saw me as an option, as a safety net. I deserved better than that. The next morning, I called a divorce attorney named Patricia Moore, explained the situation, sent her the screenshots of the emails. She told me that in our state, evidence of infidelity would work in my favor for asset division. The ball was rolling, and there was no stopping it now. Brooke spent the next 2 weeks trying everything. Text messages, handwritten letters, flowers delivered to my office. I was polite but firm. told her to get her own lawyer so we could finalize everything cleanly. I found out through a mutual friend that she had ended things with Kyle. Apparently, he had been looking for excitement, not a relationship. When she told him she was getting divorced and wanted to be together properly, he blocked her number. She had lost both of us. I moved in temporarily with Marcus while the divorce processed. Brooke stayed in the house alone with the consequences of her choices. The last time I went back to get my remaining belongings, she was sitting in the living room. She had lost weight, looked exhausted and hollow. She said she was so sorry that she had destroyed everything. I stopped, turned to face her one last time, told her she did destroy everything, but I thanked her. She looked confused, asked what I could possibly be thanking her for. I said for showing me that I deserved better, for teaching me to value myself, for pushing me so far that I had no choice but to grow. Her ultimatum had not broken me. It had rebuilt me into someone who knew his worth. I walked out of that house and did not look back. 3 months after the divorce was finalized, I was living in a small apartment downtown. It was minimalist, modern, completely mine. No compromises, no walking on eggshells, just my space designed exactly how I wanted it. I kept up with the gym, now running 6 miles most mornings and lifting 4 times a week. I had put on 20 pounds of muscle, felt healthier and stronger than I had in my entire life. Work had gotten better too. With all the mental energy I had been wasting on a dying marriage now redirected toward my career, I had gotten a promotion. More responsibility, better pay, and actual satisfaction in what I was doing. My boss commented that I seemed different lately, more focused and confident. I smiled and told her I had been making some positive changes in my life. My social life had expanded in ways I did not expect. The book club I joined introduced me to people who actually shared my interests. Volunteering at the animal shelter on weekends gave me a sense of purpose beyond myself. I had reconnected with old friends, made new ones, and felt part of a community in a way I had not felt in years. Brooke had always been subtly critical of my friendships, my hobbies, the things that made me happy. Without her judgment, I rediscovered who I actually was. There were still hard nights. Moments when I would remember not who Brooke had become, but who she had been at the beginning. The woman who laughed easily, who challenged me in good ways, who I had genuinely loved. I mourned that version of her, mourned the future we had planned that would never happen. But I learned to sit with that sadness, without letting it consume me. Some things are not meant to last forever, and that does not diminish what they were when they were good. 6 months after everything ended, I ran into Brooke at a coffee shop downtown. Pure coincidence. She was sitting alone, saw me walk in, and started to stand up. I saw her, nodded politely, but did not approach. Ordered my coffee, smiled at the barista, and walked out. No anger, no pain, no desire to know how she was doing. She had become what she should have been months earlier. A stranger who I used to know. Looking back now, I can see clearly what I could not see in the moment. Her ultimatum was never about needing space or being stressed. It was about control. She wanted to see if she could keep me as her safety net while exploring options she thought were better. She wanted me small, desperate, grateful for any attention she deigned to give me. She thought breaking me down would keep me tied to her. But people underestimate what happens when you push someone too far. When you strip away their dignity, their self-respect, their sense of worth, you do not create dependency. You create clarity. Her cruelty gave me the push I needed to stop settling, to stop accepting less than I deserved, to finally put myself first. I learned that self-worth is not something someone can give you, and it is definitely not something they should be able to take away. I had tied my value to whether Brooke loved me, wanted me, chose me. When she stopped, I thought I was worthless. It took losing everything to realize my worth had nothing to do with her at all. I was enough exactly as I was. I always had been. I learned that not every relationship deserves to be saved. We are taught to fight for love, to never give up, to work through anything. But some relationships are not struggling because of fixable problems. They are struggling because one or both people have fundamentally stopped choosing each other. You cannot fix that with communication or counseling or trying harder. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let go. I learned that manipulation loses its power the moment you stop caring about the outcome. Brooke's ultimatum only worked if I was desperate to keep her. The second I genuinely stopped needing her approval, stopped fearing her leaving, she had nothing left to leverage. The control she thought she had evaporated because I was willing to walk away. That terrified her more than anything else could. I also learned that moving forward does not mean you have to become hard or closed off. I am not the same man I was in that marriage. I am stronger, yes, more aware of my worth, absolutely. But I am not bitter. I do not hate Brooke. Honestly, I pity her. She had something real, someone who loved her completely, and she threw it away, chasing an illusion of excitement that turned out to be just as empty as she had claimed our marriage was. She has to live with that choice. I do not. I am open to love again when the time is right, but never again at the cost of my dignity. Never again will I shrink myself to fit someone else's idea of who I should be. Never again will I accept being treated as an option while someone else explores what they think are better choices. I know what I bring to the table now, and I am not afraid to walk away from anyone who does not recognize it. Her ultimatum did not break me. It broke me open. And in that breaking I found myself again, stronger, clearer, more whole than I had been in years. So, if you are watching this, and you are in a relationship where someone is using love as a weapon, as leverage, as control, remember what happened to me. The moment you stop needing them is the moment you start living again. Sometimes people come into our lives to teach us what we will not tolerate. Brooke taught me that I deserve respect, honesty, and genuine love. She taught me that I am worth more than being someone's backup plan. She taught me that my value does not depend on whether someone else can see it. For those lessons, painful as they were, I am grateful. So let me ask you, have you ever been in a situation where someone tried to control you through manipulation? Have you ever had to walk away from someone you loved because staying would mean losing yourself? Drop a comment below and share your story. You are not alone in this. If this resonated with you, hit that like button and share this with someone who might need to hear it today. And subscribe, because we are building a community here of people who refuse to settle for less than they deserve. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps you in yours. Stay strong, know your worth, and never let anyone convince you that you are less than you are. You deserve better, and better is out there waiting.